Is that fine? Can you see me? ¿Está bien?
Está bien, sí.
Okay. So I want to just a couple words about me. I started working with the University of Zaragoza in 1996. And more or less, I mean, we've had a great collaboration. I've come here and I'm hoping they will invite me to do some thesis. And lately we just published an article on fluidization together. So my expertise or things that I'm interested in are particle technology, catalysis, biomass, lithium iron phosphate, polymer recycling. Okay, so this is the University Polytechnique Montreal. It's 125 years old, 150 years old in a couple of years. So Zaragoza was 1592, so it's not quite as old as Zaragoza, but there's some other schools that are still older. But today, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about something else. Okay, so what we're going to do is talking about publication process. Okay, now when I started, let's say in 1989, it took 3 years to get a paper out. Okay, 3 years. For my master's thesis, I submitted something in 1987, and it appeared in the journal in 1990. Okay, that's annoying. Okay, and what I wanted to do was look at it with you. What are the things that you're going to look forward to, or you have to dread? Okay, so I gave this talk last month in a world-class scientific publication, Global Trends and National Priorities in Russia. And so I was traveling through Spain. I had an Erasmus Plus or Erasmus something or other. And I had a travel grant, and whenever I'm in Spain, I want to come to Zaragoza to see you guys. Okay, so it's one of my first stops. So together with this, we're looking at writing and publishing. Just Felix was in Praga with me, and so he spent a whole week looking at how to write. Now we're going to talk about publishing, and so the question is. Okay, what we've got is, I'm going to be talking about authors, editors, publishers, and then open access, okay? So those are the 4 themes that we're going to look at today. So the thing is, as authors go, publishing is not something that this is like amazing, okay? And what I want to share with you is there's a lot of emotion in publishing, and it's not always like, oh, I feel so good. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about editors. It seems like editors prefer English-speaking people, okay? Or institutions that have a lot of reputation. We're going to look at that. We're going to talk about publishers or reviewers. Have you ever had a review that you didn't think was quite right, or was fair, or they didn't understand? And then how do you respond to that? I mean, I responded once, someone criticized my English, and I underlined all English errors that they had made in their review. And so they, I think I stepped on something here. So they were not happy with that. And so what happened was they rejected my article. Okay, so that was the end result. So you have to be nice to your reviewers, always, even if they're wrong. Okay, and then we're going to talk about publishers. Oh. Okay. Okay. So publishers, are they too powerful? Elsevier, Wiley, Springer. Does anybody publish except for in those journals? And what are their responsibilities? So you have 5 companies that publish 55% of all the articles. If you look at 30 publishers, there's 75%. That's a lot of power. And then you've got these open access, okay? Do you guys want to pay 4,000 euros to publish your paper in exchange for citations? Citations money, what do you want to do? So these are the things that we're going to look at today, okay? But the first thing we want to look at is, hey, how's that paper going? Well, I'm almost done. Do you know what that means, almost done? And so that was the question we had, is that, you know, we barely got more than an outline. So what is almost done? If someone asks you, hey, how's your paper? Well, the question was, how much time does it take? How long does it take to write a paper? And so I asked you guys to fill out the thing, just think about it. And so what I did was I divided the publishing process after the research into 15, let's see, tasks, okay? So if you look at it, you've got, something happened here. So anyway, there's supposed to be a mountain there. So you've got the title. I surveyed about 40 people or something like this. Title, take 2 hours. The introduction, 20 hours. Experimental, 30 hours. Then we get into the figures. We figure that 4 hours per figure, 5 figures, 6 figures. So you're up to 60 hours. So here you go 2 to 18, 10. Here you got another 30 hours, another 10 hours for results, 10 hours for the discussion, tables, another 10 hours. Look, after rebuttal, we're looking at about 150 hours is what we agreed, okay? With what, if you took all of everybody's responses, it's 150 hours. So if you've only done like 20 hours on your paper, you're not almost done, okay? And, you know, it can be faster, but it can be slower, okay? But in a typical paper, 10 pages, you know, 6, 8 hour figures, couple of tables, it takes time. You know, people think, oh, okay, figure is like, you know, get your data and then you just put it in the figure. Well, usually figures are not just usually X, Y. You've got colors, you've got different styles, you've got what are the axes, you got your tables, you got, there's a lot in a table, or in a figure, okay? So now what we asked was, well, which part do you guys like? What's like pleasurable, okay? And so there was 5 things we asked. Something that you loved, you liked, you were ambivalent, you disliked, you're detested, okay? So the abstract, you see, the thing is not everybody is agreeing, okay? And so this just gives you a scale. So if everybody said they loved it, you get a score of 4. If everybody said they detested it, you get a scale of 0, okay? And here, for the abstract, 2.5, which is they like. Introduction 2, conclusions 2.5. So that's like the writing and the synthesis. Then if you go to the next thing is writing about the research, these people like more, okay? So the discussion part, 2.6, talking about the results, we're closer to the results, so 3.2, and experimental 2.5, which is kind of boring. I mean, experimental usually boring, okay? But some people like it. That wasn't me. Then we've got article, like the different features of the articles, okay? It looks like nobody likes putting references. I don't know why. We don't like references. Tables, figures, people like to do figures, okay? So you got a 2.9 in figures, 3.2 in results. So that's, let's say, the mechanics, okay? So article headlines, so you've got to write your highlights, your graphical abstract, and your title. So the title's fine. But highlights and graphic, who likes to do graphical abstracts? You know why we don't like it? It's because you just finish your article and they say, oh, by the way, you need a graphical abstract. You holy shit. Like, leave me alone. I'm finished. Okay? Otherwise, it could be fun. And then the last thing is journal communication. Letter to the editor, the submission process. Everybody hates it. Okay, so you can see here the text. Okay,
Just a second.
Gregory,
okay.
People cannot see your screen.
Oh, okay. Well.
cuando seguido, ¿eh? O sea,
Okay.
Now it's fine. Please write a message. Now it's fine. Seems. That's fine.
sí, ellos están viendo lo que estamos viendo nosotros.
Okay.
Okay. Put this over here again.
Or even, yeah.
Okay, so did they see this or no?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so one of these. Okay, so up at the top of the screen, I don't know how to get rid of that. So you got submission, letter to the editor, and the rebuttal, okay? So now if we look at this data in a different way, okay, well, of course, here you've got favor alejar este.
Oh, it's challenging.
Esto.
No, it's fine.
Okay, okay, está
That's
bien,
fine.
está bien. Okay. So,
No, favor de dejar eso se sigue viendo.
maybe it's just we don't need it. So this is how we feel at the beginning of a presentation, okay? That, you know, we've got all these wonderful data and we're just going to start, unless we're blocked. Estamos bloqueados. But this is how we feel. And then what happens is, when we get to the writing rebuttal, we don't feel so good, okay? We don't feel that what we have just discovered is just a magnificent piece of work. We've just been, you know, this is wrong, why don't you correct this? And we don't feel so good. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys is that these feelings we all feel. I feel them now. You know, when I submit something, it's like, oh, this is like fantastic. And I want to get the rebuttal. It's like, I don't even want to read it. Or when I read it, I got to take a day or two. And then, you know, you got to start and feel humbled, I suppose, is really what you feel. Does anybody have this sort of? Yeah? Absolutely. Okay. So the point of this lecture, this sharing, is like you are not alone. I think there was a movie somewhere. You are not alone. So now, what I did was organize this into things that are enjoyable, or really what we do. So results, introduction, title is things that there's joy. And then what we don't enjoy is the rebuttal, submission, and letter to the editor. What do we do at the beginning? What do we do at the end? So it's all a matter of you're getting tired of it, okay? It's not like the letter to the editor is so boring, okay? But it's the last thing you do. And so that's what happens is you just spent 150, you climb this mountain and you want to get over with it. So this is why, this is the drudgery versus what the joy is in the beginning.
People in the audience, they listen double with echo. Okay.
So that means it's twice as good?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, is it okay?
It's okay? They do not complain, so it's fine. Yes, it's fine.
Okay, it's good. Okay, good.
Oh, not yet. It's a mess.
Maybe one of these, maybe we got two of these and we just unplug one of them.
That's the one. Yes. Marta, tú puedes ayudarnos.
Dicen que sí. ¿Qué ocurre?
Some of them is fine, some of them is not.
Tiene esto está todo bien conectado.
Sí.
Okay. Okay, vamos a ver. Okay.
Okay.
So now the question comes, you finish writing, you've submitted, okay? How long does a review take? Okay, you spent 120 hours on this, okay? And so how long does it take? And I just told you that 30 years ago, it took 3 years. How long does it take now? And the questions are really, what is the impact? It could be you're looking for a promotion. You're looking to get hired, right? Let's put this up here now. You're waiting for a prize. Or finally, really what happens is it's a lot about motivation. If you've been waiting for months and months and months, it's just like you get demotivated. And so again, these are the consequences of this review process. And what I did was I gave this presentation to in Russia, and then we had a panel discussion with Wiley. So I was communicating this directly to Wiley in a panel discussion to let them know that, yeah, you've got to do better because this is what happens. Okay, so the question is, how do you feel when you read the rejection letter? Okay, the rejection letter is something that we don't like, but this is how you feel. Okay, so it's like, how is it possible? I spent 120 hours. It's my sweat. How is it possible that they don't just adore my work? Okay. So this is how we feel. It's an enraged. And so, what's even worse is that you get these kinds of messages. Dear doctor, we don't know if you have a PhD, but it's better to stroke your ego just in case. So what's in black is what the editors write. What's in red is what the editors think, okay? Thank you for submitting your manuscript titled Cut and Paste here. We regret to inform you, not really, that your manuscript will not be included for publication in our awesome journal at this time. After careful consideration and extensive discussion among the editorial staff, actually it was just me, we feel this paper would be more appropriate for publication in a lesser journal. Although the reviewers are not entirely negative, they were pretty bad though, it is evident that the manuscript does not meet our criteria for novelty and impact, i.e. your topic isn't trendy enough. And it goes on, okay? So although you could address these issues in a revised manuscript, we must decline without further review so that you may submit it elsewhere without delay. So after you pick up the pieces of your shattered soul, okay, we didn't want to read it again, and that's why we don't review it, but without delay, see how considerate we are. I'm sorry our response could not be more positive or negative. Our decision is in no way reflects any criticism or doubt about the quality of the work submitted or your work in general. Okay, maybe just a little. Due to the high volume of submissions we received, just rubbing that in your face, and the constraints of space, not really, paper's cheap and websites don't have a size limit, we must limit the number of articles we select for publication. We hope that you will continue to consider our journal for future manuscript submissions. We're not desperate enough to publish you now, but we might be in the future. Sincerely, the journal editor's assistant. So this is, how do how you feel, okay? Well, in reality, okay, it's like this. It's a smart fridge, honey. Not everything is going to make the cut. Okay, this is the editor's comment. So, I mean, in reality, they cannot publish everything. I worked closely with a journal that had an impact factor of 1.6. It went up to 2. And okay, 1.6 is in the third quarter. It's not even the top half. And they reject 3 out of 4 papers. Okay, it's like, it's not in the top half, and it's still, they're rejecting 3 out of 4 papers. So if you shoot high, the probability of you getting rejected is higher. But the question is, it doesn't make the cut. Well, that's what they said, okay? The question is, where do you submit your article? In risking this. See, I had a friend from the Sandia National Laboratories in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So Sandia National Laboratories, they have a budget of $3 billion. They have 12,000 employees. So it's like one of these national labs of the United States. Very, very prestigious. She had never been rejected, ever. It's like, I don't feel very good now. So, well, like, I mean, I get rejected all the time. It's like, it's like if I don't get rejected, so that's the question. Is like, how could you never get rejected? Does anybody get rejected here? Am I alone? I'm not alone? Okay, good, I'm not alone. Okay, the point is, if you're not getting rejected, you're not shooting high enough, okay? Who's submitted something to science? All right, did you get rejected? Okay, how about nature? Anybody nature? Yeah, absolutely, you gotta do this. You gotta expect it and you gotta see. Now, their letters aren't even as nice as that one, but anyway. So rejection is something we gotta deal with. I mean, this is like, young guys, they always get rejected. They're the ones that get the very. So now the question is, publishers are not like, they are doing things, okay? They are trying, they've got a lot of initiatives. And let's see. So they have been giving reviewer guidelines. Okay, what do they expect from reviewers? Okay. They are insisting on author contribution type statements, okay? They are reducing bias, okay, and we'll look at that. And they're streamlining the submission process from 3 years. I just got yesterday a paper accepted after 1 year and 3 months. But normally it doesn't take that long. Okay, but they are working in that area. So if you look at the review process, okay, here's the theory is that it's constructive. Okay, this is what the journals are really asking reviewers to be constructive, to be open-minded, that, you know, the work and look at the work. And then when you're doing the review, I'll highlight areas to improve, even when the recommendation is to reject. That is the theory, and that is what the journals are trying to do. Now, the practice is unnecessarily negative, okay? They're vague and unhelpful comments. Reviewers give opinions rather than fact, okay? Now, I don't need an opinion. I mean, if you're going to criticize me, just substantiate what you're saying. And then, well, this is the question. What is the difference between theory and practice? Does anybody know? So, in theory, come on. In theory, everything is possible, okay? In theory. In practice, the theory doesn't work. Okay, so this is what they want. This is what's going on, okay? Now, this is some of the things. The ACS has this reviewer lab. So they master the fundamentals of peer review in our free online course. So click here to sign up, okay? So that's great. It's really good. But does anybody review here? Have you clicked on that? So you guys are as bad as me. So here's the author's manuscript, okay? This is what you submitted after 120 hours, okay? You've got an orchard full of red apples that are just scrumptious and full of ideas. But this is what their reviewers see, okay? The reality is not your reality, okay? And so then the reviewers, a lot of reviewers do a fantastic job. But what happens is, what you see is this. So you give them this, they say it's an apple, they say we want bananas and we want oranges, and then you say, well, look, we're not communicating, okay? And so we do have to do a better job of reviewing and trying not to get into this mess. Okay. So one of the things that bothers me is gramming, spelling errors, criticizing English, okay? Has anybody got criticized their English? Yeah? Yeah, me too. Okay, and here are my examples. There are a lot of misspellings, okay? Well, guess what? Misspellings is misspelled, okay? It doesn't exist. Another one was, the written should be improved. I said, what? So written should be writing, okay? And then, however, I find that the article is very difficult to read majorly due to poor English writing style and requires a major revision, proofread by a native speaker with familiarity in chemical engineering. Okay, so this is called periphrasis, 34 words, it's a run-on sentence, and majorly is not a word. So these, for the people that are criticizing, these are mine, okay? These are mine that I recently got. So then you've got the vague statements. So review overall readability of the text and sometimes comes out as too informal. What the hell? What is sometimes? Okay, sometimes it's vague, okay, 50%, you know? Or examples of informal. I mean, what are you talking about, okay? And then the use of the English language can be improved. Again, be specific. If you just say that, it's not helpful. Now, if you underline the errors in the grammar, that's helpful, but that is unhelpful and it's unnecessary. Another unsubstantiated opinion difficult to address, okay? So here's something they say, the review provides relevant information, but I'm not convinced of its impact. Okay, first of all, it's a review, right? So it's just like, so here's what is impact? Is it citations? What are you talking about? So again, we've got the journal, the publishers are working towards getting a better review process and things like this, but it's not, the theory is not, it's not there yet. Okay, the practice is not there. So here's one of the things, the comments, okay? Comments, when the comments, loose pebbles, okay? So this is a road in British Columbia, and the sign says loose pebbles. Loose pebbles are just like stones, okay? And when it's not a loose pebble, that actually was there's a sign. It says loose gravel. Okay, this was a real sign. And so this is what we're facing sometimes. Okay, when it's just like, oh my God, what I submitted is not what you wanted, or you know, what are you going to do? And then you feel something more like this. Okay, you shall not pass. Okay, that Gandalf is more powerful than you with all your fire and fury. So other things that they're doing is the contributor roles taxonomy, okay? So they're asking you to say who did what, okay? So you've got all these different things. You've got conceptualization, methodology, software, editing, validation, supervision, okay? So that's really good, sort of. I mean, it's really boring because I mean, I don't know what I did at all of the things, and often you don't know, you know, if someone just does a little thing, you don't know if that's going to be the difference between a publication or not, okay? But what they want to do is avoid this. Here's your PhD student, okay, and here's your supervisor and co-supervisor, okay? Yeah, you know, you should, you know, they should be there looking at you. Then we've got your let's see, your classmate in your PDF. Okay, you know, PDF might be helping your postdoctoral fellow. Then we've got what else? We've got your grant PI and the department head. Well, you kind of, well, you know, I wrote the grant, so you know I had to have something, right? And then you got the guest author, your gift author, and you got the supervisor's best friend. And then the last person, guess who is the last person that's got to be on this? An Anglophone. You got to have the Anglophone, right? Because that's what they're asking for now. So this has to do with bias, okay? So if I was from MIT, guess what? I'm sure I'm going to get more, I'm going to get a review, okay? If I'm from England and I'm obviously an English speaker, you know, that's also going to help. Then, you know, if I have a huge reputation like Miguel, you know, that's going to help as well. And then grammar and spelling, okay? If I write perfectly, that's probably going to help. But we have this, I was looking just through YouTube about writing and things like this, and you have this Claire Lello in UK. She was giving a talk about how to publish in high impact journals, okay? So she says, first, it must be well written, which is challenging even for native speakers. Then she says, she actually said something really weird. She said that not a single typo. She said, no typos, and she will reject a typo. She's like, what the hell? What is that? And then she says that when struggling, invite a native English speaker to be a co-author. That's why I wrote Anglophone there. She actually said that in a presentation. I couldn't believe it. Oh, or pay a scientific writer to edit. Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah. And then emulate excellence. Then she says, you can get away with an awful lot if you have a beautifully written paper. To me, that's anyway, I had a problem with that. Now she said later, oh, but the English speaker has to, you know, has to, oh, by the way, guys, I'm an Anglophone. If you need an English speaker, I'm here. Just add my name. There we go. So there are biases, okay? There certainly are biases. So the question is, for the reviewer, the editor bias, what do you got? What can you do? So some of the things we're looking, first of all, right now it's single blind, okay? The reviewers know you, you don't know the reviewer. But the other thing that they're working on is double blind, where the authors don't know the reviewers don't know the authors. But what happened was with this double blind, the rate of rejection of people in Africa was higher, which was curious. Then the other thing that they're looking at is triple blind, where their editor doesn't know the authors or the reviewers. Well, I guess the editor got to know the reviewers because he selected reviewers, but the editors doesn't know who wrote the paper. And that has some interesting implications, I think, because, you know, a lot of the papers are rejected by the editor. I mean, 3 out of the 4 papers don't even get to review, okay? And so there's that bias that you really, I think they've got to, and Wiley's looking at a pilot where they publish your review and the response, and everybody knows. Has anybody had that? Yeah, the Canadian Journal, they allow you to say you can publish your, yeah, you tell them who your name was. So that's kind of interesting. But what happens is, if you know that your review is going to be published, it's like, holy shit, you know, then I got to work on my grammar and my spelling, and I got to get an English Anglophone to look at what I just wrote. So it's just like rollo, no? It's a little bit, it's a bit much. But let's say that the publishers are working on this, okay? So what we did was we said, okay, journal communication, what is this? It says submission acceptance process. So this is what we hate, okay? And is it ethical? So what happens again? You've done 120 hours. Now you've submitted your paper. I just got one accepted that would have been 1 year and 3 months. What if they rejected it? What if they rejected it? I mean, it's like a year, and now they said no. So the question is it ethical? And this is the question I was asking Wiley. Can you ask for exclusivity for 1 year? I mean, what is your responsibility? My responsibility is to write something, and I'll let you review it. But if you take a year, at what point I say, well, look, I'm going to go somewhere else. Now, the thing is, you don't want to go somewhere else because you really want to put it in this journal. So those are things that I think we have to work through. So accelerating the reviewing process, there's 2 weeks for review. Some people, the journals are asking 2 weeks. And I've got journals and it's still like take months, and I don't know why. So the idea is, well, guess what? I'm going to go somewhere else. But here is Elsevier. They've got 1,794 journals. Their average impact factor is 3.9. Okay. Then you add Springer. They've got 1,600 journals, impact factor of 2.4. Wiley, 1,200 journals, impact factor 2.8. Then we've got Taylor and Francis, 1,100 journals, 1.9. And then you've got this Sage, 2.3. So these are the journals that control. Now, I just wrote down how many, what their impact factor was. I didn't write down how many citations, what percent of the citations are. Then you can go to university and societies. So there's 1,200 with an impact factor of 1.5, which is lower. Then you've got American and British. So if you have the word America or British, okay, then your impact factor is 4.5. There's 764 journals. Then you've got small publishing houses, one. So you say, well, look, I'm going to do open access, okay? And so this idea that open access is, let's say in 2001 or 2010, there was only a very small fraction were in the Q1 at the top quartile. Most of them were in the bottom quartile. So this idea that, oh, open access, more citations. Well, no, not at all. Now it has progressed, but still 1,300 out of the 4,000 are in the top quartile. So they don't even meet the quartile, the distribution of the journals now, of the open access, of the regular journals. So here you got, in 2019, you got 1,000 journals out of 6,000 were in the top quartile. So this idea that open access is the panacea is not. It's a way for journals, publishers to make money, I think. And I shouldn't say that, but I didn't show them that in the Wiley thing. So the first thing is, this is my conclusions, okay? The author's publishing is far from gratifying, okay? So your punishment must be severe. Has anybody seen The Black Knight? Yeah? So what is your punishment in publishing? A second review, okay? So we started out with this, editors, English language bias, okay? That's a problem. It's that, you know, learn English grammar, you must, okay? Then what we've got is reviewers, they've got to be training, okay? We got to do more training, okay? Dumbbell door, okay? Then of course, are publishers too powerful, okay? So I gave this paper or this presentation in Russia. Now I'm giving it here in Spain. But again, tomorrow we'll find out if you're powerful enough, right? Italy. Are you guys going to win tomorrow, or will it be Italy? So the access, open access, promise of citations, okay? Oh, you promise? Well, it's not a promise, okay? Open access is just a money grab, I think. So what I'd like to say is, gracias por la vostra atención e a qualche domanda.
In Spanish, please.
Gracias por vuestra atención. ¿Tenéis algunas preguntas, por favor?
There is a question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Gabriel is right. Maybe I can open. Okay, he mentioned regarding grammar and the overall writing. As a reviewer, I came across some papers that were tedious to read because they were so full of grammar errors and misleading sentences. How would you address that as a reviewer? One cannot proofread the whole document.
To demonstrate what I mean to say that your grammar is insufficient. Okay, so however much time you need to do that, that's what you do. But you're not, okay, he's right, you don't, or got it, okay, he's right that you don't proofread the whole, that's not your job. Your job is to show examples of what it has to be improved, okay? And then what else was it? Yeah, yeah, so that's fair, okay. Any other questions?
concerning the double blind or the
Triple.
blind,
Mhm.
how is I mean, in the real life, how is it applied? How many journals? I don't know any.
I don't know any either. These are all pilots. So the publishers are working on pilots. I think there might be a couple, but none of the journals that I applied to sent articles to. Go ahead.
Regarding about the information you gave that reviewers were discussing papers from Africa, if they are double or triple blinded, how can this be possible?
Okay, so if everybody, the question was, if they were double blind or triple blind, how is it possible that the rejection rate was higher? And the answer is the English was so bad. And so when you know that it's from an African country, then you may be more say, oh, okay, well, we'll be more forgiving. Okay, so it's like, who's ever, okay. In chemical engineering in Canada or in the University of Calgary, chemists were viewed as very, they didn't give you partial marks for your exam, okay? It was either right or it was wrong, okay? And so in some people, when, reviewing an article, it's like, if you have a spelling error, I'm gonna reject it. So there's a whole gamut of, reviewing it's an art and it's an emotion. I mean, it really is. You think, so you say, oh, well, I can be forgiving. I was in a grant application once, a grant committee, and this guy from Glasgow said, oh, these people don't get a lot of money, so we'll just give it. What? You give it because they have the best dossier, not because they don't get very much money. But that's what happens even in publishing. You say, well, they don't get published very much, and so you're more forgiving. But if you have no idea, then you're just looking at the document and say, well, okay, there is no, let's say, emotion. There is no other mitigating circumstances. It's just like, no, it's not good enough. I would think. I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, you spoke about open access journals, saying that publishers only work for money. Well, the other publishers also work for money, so it's the same. But at the end of the day, are you sending papers to open access journals, or you prefer to keep on traditional ones?
Okay, I sent an article to Scientific Reports, which is open access. Okay, what happened was it was an article on publishing, in fact, okay? Because I sent it to a journal, they rejected. I sent another journal, rejected. I sent another journal, rejected. It was just like, holy shit. I mean, and so, okay, I'll pay to get it. And so, and then it got accepted. It got accepted.
In the first run.
No, there was like reviews and things like this. And so what happened was I was not recognized as someone in the field. And so I was getting rejected. And so finally, Scientific Reports, they don't care about impact, okay? They care that your experimental methodology is correct and that what you're reporting is correct. They don't care about methodology, your impact, okay? So that's not their criteria. So that paper right now has 30 citations after 3 years. So, which is a hell of a lot, okay? It's been viewed, it had been viewed in 1 year 24,000 times on Scientific Reports. So it had been rejected. And so, pay, okay, I'm gonna pay you. Shoot, I think it was good work, so I'm gonna pay for it. So that's one reason to pay. Another, I don't typically want to pay. Not typically.
Yeah, there's one for the audience.
How is it possible?
Sometimes, just a question, just a point, Gregory, that sometimes you pay, your feeling that we were used to do not pay for papers is, okay, why I should pay, if I never pay for that. And now the point is that you have EU projects and then said that you must publish in open access. For sure.
So you have to pay.
It's the rule.
It's the rule. It's the rule.
Not
Necessary. That's the rule. I
European
mean,
rule.
the publishers are making money twice because for sure in the budget of the project they put money for open access because it's compulsory. And that's another reason for publishing in open access because you have to.
Mm.
And actually, I think that right now, this is the trend in all the journals. In ACS, for example, they always have the option of open, and which is what they call hybrid journal.
Mm-hmm.
And now they started launching all these LCS, whatever, ACS sensors, gold open access, because they said this is pure open access and I get double money with this one.
Well, yeah,
That's politics also in there. Not the number, not that. It's politics, it's making money.
well, I'm on an editorial board for IET, Sustainable Power Generation. And it just got taken over by Wiley, and Wiley insists that it's open access. So everybody's got to pay. A friend of mine, or a colleague of mine, is on the board, senior editor of the board of ultrasonic sonochemistry. And the publisher said, no, you're going open access. They didn't want it, but the publisher forced them to. And I find it, now, if you look at scientific, well, right now, journal citation reports just came out with the impact factors. And if you look at the data, they've got a column, how many papers are open access, okay? And so there's some that are 100% because they're forced to, but the ones where people have the option to, it's some are 14%, but it's usually 2% or 1% or something like that. So people don't want to pay for open access because they don't believe that open access, and I mean, the data shows it, the open access is not going to get you more citations. It's not going to get you a higher readership. So, you know, but how do you communicate that to the journals? You say, hey, you guys are, but I mean, I did work for a company that was making money. And so the question is, are they making money like crazy? And if they are, then you invest in them and say, okay, then you'll make the money. But I don't know that they are. And so, I mean, coming up with these new ideas of how to publish, I mean, it does take personnel, and really that's what it is mostly, is personnel. But I haven't looked at I mean, they're not private company, there's public companies. And then you can look at their PDE, their profits to earning, and you know, maybe, you know, if it is a money machine, then we should invest in them. So this is the question here. What do you think about Open Research Europe?
There's one first.
Okay.
This is more related to the question that you are.
Yeah.
We're answering now, no? The Open Research Europe, and then we can answer to the, because it's the same.
Okay, so here, this one here, Eduardo, how is it possible that despite the big barriers for publishing, there's still so many articles full of manipulated data and conclusions? Okay, if you had taken my course, you would have destroyed your own argument, okay? Because that's a supposition. There is no data to tell you how much, okay? And if there is data, it might be 1% or 2%. Now, there has been this article in Science or Nature or something like that. They said how much of the data is reproducible, okay? And so that's evidence that we are manipulating blah, blah, blah. But it's not. Science is hard. I mean, I don't know anybody that could repeat my experiments of injecting sugar at high temperature and atomizing it and then having it react, okay? I mean, it's just like shitload hard, okay? So you see, this presumes that people are trying to cheat, okay? And the point of this conversation is not to say, oh, there's cheaters out there, okay? And there are, but I don't care. You know, if you look at the distribution, there might be 1%, and eventually they'll get found out, okay? And so I don't care. I don't care about them. And so I'm not going to concentrate on it. And this is part of the reason of this public. You know, Wiley and the Cope and elsewhere, those cheaters, they're going to try, and they might, but who cares? Because I'm going to do
associate editor and the head editor found a very strange case.
Yeah.
Where a person that doesn't even exist, person with a fake name, fake everything, and it took a lot of time and efforts for him to research, and this person already published papers in other journals. But I agree with you that this is a minor, super minor percentage.
And the OFIC number doesn't work?
Yeah, but the article number, you have to check whenever you receive something, you have to check many things. The author, I mean, automatically checked by the journal, but sometimes they do not have the ORCID or they prepare themselves, because you can create an ORCID number.
You see, what
You can do it
Yeah.
if you want to.
It's I think what we call in English a red herring. It's like, that's not the problem, okay? Now, there are countries that are like Russia, and then you've got these predatory journals. You know, you've heard of a predatory journal. So the thing is, Elsevier was considered a predatory journal when it started in 1960 or 1970. They're saying, hey, you know, what's going on here? These people are coming in and starting new journals, and they were considered predatory. Now, so new journals are often, how do you start a new journal? Let's start a new journal, okay? What are you gonna do? You're gonna send out some notices to everybody, and then you say, okay, now you're predatory as well? So there are predatory practices where some I've heard they'll pay you to publish or something like that. Oh, yeah, well, that's so cool. That's kind of cool. Actually, you know, chemical reviews. You know, chemical reviews, it's got an impact factor of 60. I published there last year. They gave me $1,000. Hey, this is great. Chemical Society reviews, impact factor of 54. They gave me $1,000. It's like, oh, okay, great. So they're not predatory journals, though, are they? So I think it's ingenuous. It's you know, there are predatory journals, but there are journals that are trying to start up, and then how do you start up and develop a reputation and everything like that? But you know, if you're not one of the 5, then it's kind of tough. But I don't have the numbers, and you know, I just hear a lot about predatory journals and about the falsification, and people are publishing, and you know, people do want to publish, and it's, you know, and it's new human nature, right? As soon as I find something that confirms my bias, I've got a great argument. I'm right because somebody said it. But I'm not gonna continue looking for something to refute my bias. So it's a little difficult.
Eduardo has replied to you about the.
Okay, it is, however, unfair how they manage to publish and serious scientists get rejected. This is the reason for my. Life sucks, okay? We're in a business. We're in a business, and look, I get rejected, okay? And I'm not. Had to do with personality. And I was always, I was working on a patent, and then a colleague of mine had the same idea or at the same time, and I was really upset. And And in the course, what they taught you was called abundance, okay? Live life with abundance. Don't care about anybody else, okay? You know, you've got, so what he told me about this patent, he said, is this your first patent? I said, no. Is your first idea? I said, no. Is it your best idea? And I said, no. Is it your last idea? I said, no. And I said, well, who cares then? I mean, just keep on having ideas and then get it out. Don't worry about other people. Just get, you know, worry about your creativity and how you're going to make an impact. And, you know, there's bumps, and then that's the whole point of this talk, is that it sucks when you get rejected, okay? It sucks. But guess what? It sucks for all of us. And sometimes, guess what? The reviewers are right. You shouldn't get it published, okay? You did a shitty job. You know, okay. And then you pick up your pieces and you go along, and, you know, not all things are going to make the fridge.
It's an unanswered question. What do you think about open research?
Open Research Europe. You know that
You
platform?
know?
What is it?
Okay, because what I told you that it's compulsory
To publish open access.
Okay, then they figure out that EU, okay, we are putting a lot of money in our project just for publishing.
Right,
Then we are win.
right.
So then they decide, let's make our own portal of publications, and now we have to tell to the researchers that they have to publish, and this under this Open Research Europe, which is a repository where all the publications from projects should go there.
It's not only a repository. It's like an editorial.
And real editorial
They are
from the
from-
EU.
Yeah.
Of course, without any history, no impact factors, no nothing. So now the author said, okay, I should publish there. I will not get cited. I will not have impact factor. So it's.
But I mean, isn't that like the bioarchive and the archive? No?
This is only, I mean, this is just more specific to all the productivity linked to European projects.
Yes.
I mean, to publish there, at least you have to be involved in a European project. It's not mandatory, but they have this option.
So no, I'm not.
And they want to go for that.
Yeah.
Wait,
In order to cut the budget.
the budget for open access that they promote initially because they want open access to science.
Hmm.
By the way, what do you think about Science Hub?
It is too expensive.
I've never
You
used it.
wanted open access, but cheap open access.
Yeah, that's
Hmm. No, I've never used Science Hub either. I don't even know what it is.
The question is that you can publish in open access via the green, which is zero money. But in Europe, the embargo is 6 months. And the top journals has embargo higher than 6 months. So at the end you have
1
to pay.
year. Okay.
And this is,
Well,
This is not
that's, yeah.
and this, yeah, for sure, these are review, this is a standard platform with a revision process and so on. So, yeah, you have to, but at the end, you are not going to have an impact factor as usual impact factor.
Right.
Totally understood, no? Because,
This is certain.
it's starting right now.
Well, the question is an impact factor useful?
That's it.
But this is the system.
And
It's called
what is the
lockdown.
answer? Okay, impact factor, is it useful or not? Anybody? Finish.
Not necessarily related, but I don't know. People can use your work and reproduce it, and then of course they're gonna.
No, I just, how many people cite it? And the citations are not always, well, you guys, impact factor is something you care about?
Can be something you can trust more, but I am also on the second year of this system.
Mhm. So do you want to publish in science or do you want to publish in the Canadian Journal of Chemical Engineering?
If I publish in science, it would be very good because following my theory, it's high impact factor, make my research more
Visible.
or solid. But
Mm.
this is the theory, and I don't know if theory and practice is.
That's it.
Impact factors mean something, and then anybody that says it doesn't mean anything, they're smoking dope, okay? There's a reason why they have defined. Now, the reasons are varied, okay? I did an analysis of the Canadian Journal of Chemical Engineering versus the AICHE Journal versus Chemical Engineering Journal, okay? So which of those three are the best journal?
Oh, we are here.
I think it's the AICHE journal's the best, okay?
Because of the impact factor.
No.
No.
It's because it doesn't have, it has an impact factor of 3.9 right now, okay? So Chemical Engineering Journal has impact factor 13 point something. Canadian Journal just got to 2, yahoo, okay? So what I did was I took the impact factor, the number of citation versus the number of the journals, okay? And just rank. And what happens is, more articles you have, higher your impact factor is. So the Canadian Journal publishes 250 papers a year. The AICHE publishes 600-700, and Chemical Engineering Journal, 3,000, 4,000. So you just plot it, and it's just like, it has to do with how many articles you write. And so like H-index, same thing. Your H-index is how many papers. If you publish 200, 300 papers, your H-index is going to be 6,000. If you publish 100 papers, your H-index is going to be 2,000, 2,000, 3,000. There's no other correlation. It's just like, it's how many papers you publish, okay? That was, let's say, one of the.
Sometimes you have people with 20 papers and there's of 50, and also the opposite.
Sometimes, but again, it's the statistics, right? Okay. I'm not talking about the cheaters. I'm talking about, okay, here is now, for example, chemical reviews. They publish 250 papers a year. Okay, they got impact factor of 60. So that refutes my thought. Again, those are outliers. Okay, they're not within the 2 sigma of my let's say that conversation. Anything else?
Questions?
Do you guys like to write? Yeah? Okay, come to Montreal. Anybody that likes to write, okay, come, because if you can find joy in writing, I mean, your career is just going to take off, because writing is 50% of what you got to do. Okay, I'd said it's 150 hours. Okay, something like that. But in the end, that's how you're going to get published. And what you got to learn how to do is learn how to enjoy writing, so that it's not like, oh shit. It's like, oh, I can't wait to get down and write something. If you can learn how to do that, then you'll be in really good shape. What do you think, Thaddeus?
Yeah, I do agree on that. I mean,
do you like to write?
I like writing. I like writing, but I think it takes a lot of, and you need a lot of concentration and to find the moment, because you want, okay, I need at least 2 out of this 120, of course, you can go from the beginning to the end. You need to find like 2 or 3 hours together is to sit down and go on the flow and find, that's what you need, no?
Well, what I did with my students is we've got a writing group. So it was I take a break right now, but it was like on Tuesdays, I am there for them from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And if they can't make it Tuesday, I'm there for them Wednesday from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And the idea is it's a writing group. So, we're all there on Zoom or whatever and writing. And so if they have a question, then I would just, but it's kind of fun because everybody's there to write. And so you know, it's like, how do you find the 2 hours? Well, guess what? You don't find 2 hours, okay? You schedule 2 hours. It's like, that's,
Close the door and.
yeah, but you know, it's just like, exactly. But you say, this is an important thing. Therefore, I'm going to make a schedule, and that's going to be what I'm going to do at that time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's.
I think on the chat, there is no more question.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Thank
we
you.
got that.
Gregory.